Happens brand, which is a very big deal. To start with, could you please tell us more about your journey?
Oh, thank you. I'm happy to be here with you. Yeah, so I've been in logistics since 2004. I started with a very large freight forwarding brokerage company based out of the US. I worked for them for almost 10 years. And then I kind of feel like I hit a wall of like how far I could go with them.
Mhm.
So I kind of bounced around a little bit, doing some other things, and then in 2016, I started my own brokerage, which I still run on the side. It's like a small boutique brokerage. I only have a few clients at this point. Um, and then in 2022, 2021, somewhere in there, um, I'd been doing a little bit of consulting. So um, I kind of noticed there was a lack of understanding of the world of logistics, especially for SMEs, like small and medium-sized enterprises. So I decided that I just started an Instagram account and I was doing like jargon and talking about like things that people wouldn't know unless they were in the world that we work in, what we would consider like common sense, but it's not. Um, and I found a lot of people thought that was really great. And then just after that, I started getting more traction on LinkedIn as well within our professional community. And then I started the blog maybe a year and a little bit after that. Um, and then it was within the last year that I really put a lot of effort into it, and I've kind of gotten a lot more people like on this website. I started the Gorgeous Girls Work in Supply Chain series, which has really done well. So that's kind of brings us to today now. So
Wow, that is a lot of things that you have done till
yeah,
now. And
yeah.
what exactly gave you the inspiration to come up with this name, Ship Happens? What's the story behind it?
It was just something that we used to say in one of the offices I worked in because like it's like a play on words, right? Like there's the like people say shit happens. So like we used to say that around the office all the time, and it was always like with a little laugh because like sometimes within logistics like you really can't do anything. Like
Yeah.
things happen and you just have to kind of roll with it and learn from it and then move forward. And that was
Yeah.
kind of the idea that I had. Like I knew a lot of people were going to end up coming to my website like after something had gone wrong.
Yeah.
So, and hopefully that they would come and they would learn and then they wouldn't have to deal with that problem again. So that was kind of where it came from. It was just more off of a like joke more than anything.
Yeah. I actually love the name. I was like, damn, I should have thought of something like this as it's humorous and it's fun. I'm like, wow, ship happens. We can start using this on daily basis instead of saying shit happens. We're like ship happens.
Exactly, especially working in logistics because like something does always happen
Hmm.
that you weren't expecting. So I feel like
Yeah.
it just really works.
True. I read something about found money and supply chain. That's something you had shared. What's
Oh
a
yes.
memorable example of wasted costs hiding in plain sight?
It's funny when I was looking at all the questions that we had because a lot of them kind of overlap of
Okay.
situations.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so like this situation was way back when I was early
Mm-hmm.
on in my career. I was working at the company I was working for, and one of our biggest clients, a very large company in Canada, was shipping product from Toronto to Ottawa.
Mm-hmm.
Not a far distance, about a 6 hour drive, give or take. Um, and the warehouse in Ottawa was not super large. Um, the problem was is that they were running out of room, and so
Mm-hmm.
product kept getting there and then sitting on the trailer for like a day or two even, and kind of like they were using the trailers almost like storage. But the problem was is they were still sending us to pick up the same product the next day because their system was showing there wasn't anything in the warehouse. So I finally had to stop them and I'm like, I'm not picking up
Yeah.
at that facility anymore to go to Ottawa. Like you have three trailers of that product
Mhm.
sitting there. And they were like, oh, what do you mean? And I was like, yeah, it's still not received and it's been sitting there. And so like, I think that's why your system is showing you that there's nothing
Mhm.
there. Because technically it hasn't been received, but it is there. And so after like some back and forth and things like that, it turned out like that it was true. Like the system wasn't recognizing that there was product there to be used,
Mhm.
but that it was outside. But the thing was, they were paying $250 plus every day that those trailers sat there. And that's literally just because two departments are not communicating with each other properly. And so I it was funny too because it's kind of a lesson of like you can't always do everything that your client is asking you to do. Like you
Yeah.
kind of have to be the one to be the expert to say, hold on, something's wrong here.
Wrong
And
here.
we need to address the actual root problem and not like keep band-aiding the situation here.
Mhm.
So yeah, that was definitely, and it was really funny too because they were like, well, like you could have just, because we were making money technically off of like
Yeah.
the trailers just sitting there. And I was like, yeah, but it's not, that's not
Right.
sustainable either.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
so silly. So yeah, so and then it like after that, like the client was giving me more shipments and more lanes to quote on and things like that. So in the long run, the money that I would have made by just doing whatever they wanted, I ended up making way more money because they trusted me to do more
Yeah.
things. So
True. So, and that I would say this example does show that being rather than focusing that, yeah, as they said, you could have made more money without even informing. You went to them, you were ethical and you were like a nice human, and that paid off in a better, longer way by getting better contracts with them. It
yeah,
does.
and the thing is like you kind of have to look at what's sustainable too and what you can build off of. Like, sure, there's like even things like getting a
Mhm.
really good rate from a carrier or getting a really good rate from your client, but you know that it's an unfair rate. Like, okay, that might be fine short
Yeah.
term and you might make some money short term, but like in the long run, like somebody's gonna struggle because
Yeah.
of that inequality or the unfairness. And so like you're gonna either put a carrier out of business or your customers eventually gonna recognize that you were screwing them. So like there's yes, it's because I'm ethical and that's the case, but also it's a smart business decision, really
Yeah.
long term.
Yeah, but I mean that it like as you pointed it out, it's ethical, and I believe that little thing that you did of telling them that hey, although I can make more money, but this is not accurate. You guys are having some issues communicating inside,
Mhm.
and that needs to be fixed, even for them to function better. So,
Correct.
as you communication is so important. So, how do you
Mhm.
think companies like these where these mistakes happen, how should they actually focus on communicating better? What would be your advice to them?
I mean, I can give the advice. I'm not sure they're going to take it. Um, I mean, listen, like lack of communication or bad communication happens in any company, like especially when you get to super large companies, like things are going to slip. It's just
Mhm.
how it is.
Normal,
I
yeah.
think the thing is that two things. One, people need to slow down. And I
Mhm.
recognize in our industry, like people feel like it is a go, go, go environment and things
Yeah.
feel very urgent all the time, but sometimes they're not as urgent as people are making them out to be. I think the other thing is like people need to be more concerned with the end result
Yeah.
than CYA, like covering your ass. Like a lot of people are so wrapped up in making sure they don't get in trouble for a problem or like that they don't get blamed for a mistake. And
Mhm.
I mean, it's not a great way to work because like you're so busy trying to like protect just yourself that you might make judgments that is not good for like the
True.
total situation or the
Mhm.
shipment or whatever. And I think that that's the other problem is like people are CCing everyone and their
Yeah.
sister and like then people are just ignoring emails or messages and things like that because like do I really need to be on this email? Probably not. Like, but
Yeah.
there's somebody on that email that does need to be on that email and does need to see it. So like I think that we've gotten to the point where so many, oh, I'm just going to add everybody on this email so everybody knows what's going on. And in reality, like that's not good communication. That's just making sure that you don't get blamed for something. And in reality, like everybody's going to make mistakes. Everybody is going to take the blame once or twice or more in their career. Let's be honest, I've taken the blame a lot
Yeah.
of times. But those are the times that I probably learned the most. So like, I think that there's something to be said. Like I had an employee once and I literally had to tell her like, listen, there's nothing that you can do that I can't fix.
Yeah.
Nothing. Like
Wow. Uh-huh.
Like there's very few things that you can
Mhm.
do here that I cannot fix or know how to deal with for you or help you through. And so like that gave her a lot more confidence to start making decisions on her own. And that's the same idea. I think sometimes like the communication gets bogged down by people that are too scared to make decisions and things like that. So I think I'd just like to see people like be okay with making mistakes a little bit more. It sounds so counterintuitive because like obviously you don't want mistakes, but I think that the over communication is really the problem, which also sounds super counterintuitive.
But I think I kind of understand where you're getting at. So the way I see it is it's a domino effect. One small mistake which you fail to communicate can take the whole company down. So if
Hmm.
the employee is aware, they saw that okay, this mess up is gonna result in a very big issue in the long run, it's better to just let the management or the superior know, because they, as you said, there's something you at a higher level not deal with. You can always help them be like, okay, I understand where you messed up, and we can
Yeah.
do the damage control beforehand. And
Yes.
you also pointed out how it's very fast, like people are focusing on speed and they don't realize that consumers value cost rather than the speed. That's something
Hmm.
I read. Then, and that's something I read in your post, of course. So, how do you think our supply chains adapting to that prioritization?
I honestly, if I'm honest, I don't think they are. I think everybody is still really focused on
Mhm.
speed. I think that the whole idea, like we're living in the Amazon world, right? Like, let's be honest,
True.
everybody's getting something the next day or same day in some cases. Like, it's all about like that uber convenience of like getting something right away and that immediate gratification. And I think that that's really something that needs to be broken down, like as a society. But when it comes to um, like working with B2B, like business to business, I think there is a slight shift starting to happen where people are recognizing like there are other alternatives rather than having the fastest thing right away. And like changing, like dealing with all these tariff situations, people are like adjusting to how they order. People are not using things like just in time anymore. So like because it's too volatile at this time. So people are stocking inventory. So like if it takes a little bit more time to get the restock, it's not that big of a deal because they have extra inventory. So I think that we're seeing a slight change. I don't know if it's because people think it's what they should do or just because of like the climate that we're in. Um, but I do think that people are so obsessed with the speed on the very consumer end that that is really kind of pushing some companies to make decisions based off of that. And it's not really necessary in my opinion in a lot of cases.
And that is indeed one opinion that I'm hearing, and it's different, to be honest, from what I've normally heard. And it's really interesting to see, understand as to how you saw it, and I do get a better idea now. And you have you've seen technologies ranging from barcodes to AI in your logistics. Which tech do you think is still underrated and could be used even more efficiently?
Oh, I I honestly I don't I read this question and I thought about it quite a bit because I don't know if I really have an answer for that. I
Mhm.
think the problem that I have currently
Yeah.
whenever I go to a trade show or I'm sent messages about new tech and things like that, it's just a
Mhm.
lot of like jargony
Mhm.
buzzwords and
Mhm.
like everything says AI this and AI that. And I'm like, yeah, but like what's it going to do for me? Like
Yeah.
what is going on here? I think that I think that when if we're really looking at what people want out of technology, it's under knowing where your product is all the time. That's
Okay.
number one. That's what people want. That's like if you really boil it down, like that's what people are looking for. From a like customer
Bigger
standpoint.
perspective, yeah.
People just want to know where their things are, whether it's a consumer
True.
or a B2B situation, they just want to know where it is. And I do think that there are lots of gaps in that industry that are not being addressed, but I'm not a technologist, so
Yeah.
I'm not going to speak to that. And then the other thing is like you see a lot, at least what I've witnessed in North America, is there's a lot of like pricing tools. And I think I'm probably going to get roasted for this, but I feel like those are just kind of silly, not silly.
Not that
They're,
useful.
no, I think they might be causing more damage than
Ah,
good. I think
okay.
that they are driving pricing down. I think that I do think that there is a case use for them. I personally think it's more in contract pricing, like rather than spot market world, but that's 100% my opinion, and I don't work at any of these companies, so I don't know. But
Yeah.
that's just from my perspective. It seems like the
Mhm.
pricing tools would be way more helpful in a contract situation than a day-to-day. And what I've
Mhm.
seen is in a day-to-day scenario, it seems like that they're pushing down rates and prices to the point of where truck drivers are not being paid fairly.
Mhm.
Again, that's just an opinion,
Opinion,
to be
yeah.
clear.
And
But
no,
yeah, like
like,
I wish,
yeah.
I don't know.
I personally think I think this comes from what side are you on for us to have this opinion. So because we
Agreed.
are on the logistics side, so we understand the drivers, the pay way, the way like yes,
Mm-hmm.
they deserve a better pay, and like even for us, like when we join the industry, like okay, yeah, we everyone deserves a high pay and stuff like that. But if we see from the consumer side, they are gonna try their level best to pay as less as possible. So I think
Exactly.
it's mainly that side. So your side comes from the industry, like the driver's side, that they
Yep.
deserve it.
Yes, it's true, but also I go back to my
Mhm.
comment about things that are save you money now might not be sustainable
Yeah,
in the long run. And I like it's like that Venn diagram where you have like cost, speed, and like quality of
yeah, the
work,
whole
right?
thing.
Like you get two usually. Like you get it. You can have it cheap and fast, or and it's like not who knows how the
Yeah.
driving quality is going to be, like those kinds of
Mhm.
things. So like I I think that listen, everybody likes to save money. Me
Yeah.
too. Don't get me wrong, I love a good sale, but the thing is I am also willing to pay for quality and speed if I need something
True.
right away.
Yeah.
So I think that that's where these with the pricing tools specifically, I think it kind of gives people this like boldness to pay less than they probably
Yeah.
should.
Hmm. I can, so it's more, from what I understood, it's more like reaching that balance. Like, don't ruin the balance so much that it can cause
Agreed.
damage to the whole system.
Correct. Yes. That's exactly how it is. Like if you look
Mhm.
at supply chain in general, even if you go back to the pandemic, like we we saw how something that's that much pressure pushed onto the supply chain, the global supply chain, causes a problem. Like it's a very delicate system. And so like one thing, a boat stuck in the Suez Canal can cause huge ramifications that we're still probably
Yeah.
feeling some of the effects of today. And it's been 4 or 5 years. So I think like when it comes to things like this, I think sometimes um, we're not even feeling the effects of what could happen. And also like it is such a delicate system. So like there is a balance. Like you can't go too far in one direction or another, you know?
Yeah. True. So it everything like comes back to that essence of maintaining the balance, which is going to help
Mhm.
us survive in the long run in the industry, to be
Correct. Yeah.
able to ensure that we don't prioritize reducing the cost so much that the quality and other aspects are compromised.
Correct. Yes.
And I loved your post, which was about women in logistics. So, from my personal experience, so it's just been 6 months to me taking up this master specialization,
Hmm.
and I got told a lot that it's a male-dominated sector. Are you sure you wanna go? How will you be guided? And it is true. I feel that. So people like you who are coming up with something new where people can learn from, like Ship Happens and the other one that you mentioned, women working women look
Women-
gorgeous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
supply chain, yes.
Yes, so all of these things they matter as they help increase the awareness of women in the logistical sector. That yes,
Mhm.
there are women, and yes, there are successful women who are making great impact in the sector. But I like the way I'm seeing it is the word male dominant itself scares us and to take a step back. I took it, but there are other girls who would want to do it, but the word male dominant itself makes you even more doubtful if you should enter the sector. So, how do you think we can create a safe space and community for people to be willing to enter the sector?
I mean, I've been in the industry for a long time, so I have
Mhm.
seen quite a bit of change. Like my first, when I was working with the very large
Mhm.
company, I was the only woman in my office. Like we were like one of the offices, but I was the only woman in the office. And I will say, yes, there were times that it was very uncomfortable. But I, first of all, I had bills to pay. So there's that. But also, like, as I got further into my career, I started recognizing like there were other women that like
Mhm.
were fighting through it just like I was. So it kind of, but it wasn't a lot of, not a lot of us talked about it with each other, which was kind of difficult because there was nowhere where we were given a safe space to do so, right? And then slowly some of these like women in logistics programs came out and things like that, which are nice to see. And um, I want to see more of that. But I think what I would say is that like, I don't know if you've seen this. There's like a TikTok that was going around that literally was like, how hard can it be? The men do it. And
Wow.
that's
That is
and that's and I think
heavy.
about that a lot actually, like when it comes to a lot of things, because
Yeah.
like we always seem to look at things and we're like, oh, there's so many men here, like how could we possibly be involved? And I'm like, well, one, we bring a different perspective. We bring a different perspective, we bring a different skill set, we bring more empathy, we bring
Mhm.
more understanding of other people. I think that we really have to look at the industry. How I look at it is the industry would not be as good if there weren't women in it in the first place. And we just need more women to make it even better.
Wow.
That's kind of
That's
how I look at it
beautiful.
because like it is scary. Like, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Like there
Yeah.
are times like I'm in my mid 40s and like even still, if I walk into a room and it's the majority of men, like I definitely still feel intimidated. I still get that little like pit in my stomach where I'm like, ugh, this is so annoying, first of all. But then I get really mad.
Yeah.
I get mad about it because I am mad because like I know that there are other women that probably weren't invited to this room. And then
True.
I get mad about it. And then I start talking about it in that room with those men. And I make
Oh,
sure that
yeah.
they understand. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like you need to know that you need to recognize that
Uh-huh.
there's 4 women in this room of 40 people. That's
True.
not okay. And so there's also like this other thing that happens as well. It's a bias that men particularly have when they did a study where with women in a room with men, and there was only 30, I think it was 25 or 30% was female in the room.
Yeah.
And the men saw it as there were more women in the room than men. Like they didn't understand. They
Yeah.
like bias that there would because they're used to being in rooms of all
Yeah.
men. So like
Mm-hmm.
even a like quarter of them is women,
Yeah.
they see it as
Mm-hmm.
equal. And I'm like, that is crazy, first of all. But also it does give you some like understanding
Mm-hmm.
of why the men might be a little standoffish
Yeah.
sometimes. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of men I met that are super supportive, very vocal about like that women need to be in the industry and that we bring a different mindset and things like that. There's some really great allies out there. But there's also some men out there that suck. Like they just suck. And
True.
they might not change, those men.
Mm-hmm.
And you're gonna
True.
run into them. You're gonna have to deal with them. You're gonna have to, but you don't back down. You stand your ground, you keep talking if they try and talk over you. Like those things are all important.
True. So I've interviewed some women already, and they
Mhm,
told me their experiences like they got muted from the team meetings and they were low-key not treated well. And
mhm,
to be honest, since I have not stepped in yet, I feel a little scared as to how I would feel when I would be in that spot. So
mhm.
how, like as you said, yes, just have your voice, speak for
Yeah.
yourself and be there, but I mean, I feel that comes after you have that level. Now, for me, if I start, it's gonna be a very fresh job. It will be, say, my internship or my
Yeah.
first job. How do I feel that sense of power? That would, like, the power to be vocal, to be like, hey, I still have a voice. I'm supposed to have an opinion. How would I do
Yeah.
that?
I think that it's pretend they're women, first of all. So like if you think interrupting
Mhm.
or you think like sharing something might be rude in a group of women in that situation, then step back and you listen and you learn. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Mhm.
But if you're in a room and it's mostly men and you are like, if this was all women, I would say what I'm thinking, say what
Yeah.
you're thinking. There is a line like like don't get me wrong, like I've
Mhm.
come to the point where I've kind of made that mistake where I'm like I get too forceful about it, and that's we're all gonna like figure that out. I've been too forceful and I get that like where some men will just shut down and then not want to talk to you anymore. And I mean that happens, but whatever. But I think like you just kind of have to recognize like when it's your like especially early on in your career when it's your time to sit and learn and understand, and when there's something where you're like I have an idea that I think is
Yeah.
useful. So like maybe not in opinion, but if you have an idea or a solution for something, then it's time to speak up. If it's just people talking about opinions and things going on in the industry, then I would maybe take a step back because it is true, like you don't have a lot of experience. Maybe it's things that you haven't thought of before. Um, so if anything, I would share my opinion at the end of the conversation when you have more information. But that's just kind of how I look at it. But even now, there are times where I'm like, oh, should I say something? And I'm like, yeah, of course I should say something. Like I should say something because
Yeah.
yeah. And I think and the other thing too is have whether it's in the industry or not, because
Yeah.
I'm going to be very blunt. Shitty things are going to happen. People are going to Men are going to be mean to you. Even some older women are going to be mean to you and say things that are just absolutely unnecessary. You need to have
Mhm.
a support system of some kind, whether it's in the industry, outside of the industry. I don't recommend it being your family. It should be some friends, potentially,
Right.
maybe
Yeah.
friends that you have in the industry, friends you don't have in the industry, and then like a couple of mentors like my age that can kind of like walk you through how to deal with something that maybe you feel is a little bit out of your range. So
Mhm.
that's my advice.
That is something that is something that I need to remember. I think the best point I loved was the one which you said, that choose and decide if you have to learn right now and then have the opinion at the end,
Mm-hmm.
or if it's just a thought everyone is sharing, then have it. And like the
Right.
best one, yes, is think, if they are women, would you still say it or would you not? So that
Yeah,
does make
exactly.
a, yeah, that does make a difference. Like the way that switch happens in your brain, and you're like, yeah, if there was a woman, I would have said this super easily without being conscious or worried. So, yeah.
Exactly.
And when it comes to companies, now, to be very honest, I don't know it yet, but do you think the companies are taking any effort to increase the percentage of women, especially in the sector? Like,
I mean,
the
it
standard rules that
listen,
we
it
have is that racism, yeah, there's a one standard paragraph they put, we are inclusive
yeah,
and
yeah.
okay. But other
Yeah,
than
the
that,
performative.
yeah.
Listen, there are some companies out there that are doing
Mhm.
some really great
Okay.
things. I
Yeah.
think there are some out there. There are a lot that do the performative things too. Like
Okay.
it is what it is. You kind of it
Accept it,
is what
yeah.
it is.
Mhm.
Like, because like this kind of change, however much it should be happening, it takes time,
Mhm. Mhm.
unfortunately. what I will tell you is from my experience
Yeah.
from 20 years ago, starting in the industry, the change that I really love that I've seen is that the women are so supportive of